That's so brilliant. This video is sponsored by Photrus. And by that, your photographs get simply sharper, your compositions get better. You will take photographs on a level you were not able to take before. But all that just if you're using your tripod in the right way. And I see so many mistakes here in my workshops, and not only for beginners, by the way. Are you using a tripod in the right way? Let's find out with this video. My friends, very nice to see you. I see that always and always again, that photographers would be able to get better results actually, but the limiting element is the usage of the tripod. And that's something that would be so easy to fix. Now, the first mistake I see over and over again is that the tripod is simply wrong dimensioned. When the ball head is too weak, for instance, you do quite hard to adjust the composition because it always sinks further after you have tightened the screw. Impossible to find you in a composition, right? So go for a ball head that is strong enough. But it is not only the ball head. So many photographers choose their tripod height after their body height. But why? It doesn't make much sense, to be honest. I mean, it would make sense if you would photograph just in a studio on flat ground so that it's comfortable to use. But in landscape photography, in so many cases, the ground is not flat. Yeah, it is more like that or so. You need to pull out the tripod legs, that you can compensate for that. And when the tripod is too small, you can't bring your camera position high enough. So don't choose the tripod height after your body height. Choose a tripod that is much higher. Yeah, I mean, the higher the better actually, but you should also be able to carry it around. So also look for the weight and same, also for the ball head, of course. Quite important thing at a landscape photographer's tripod are the spikes. It simply helps to get the connection between the tripod and the ground really sturdy. So go for a tripod that has good spikes. And when you're using a tripod with good spikes, don't use these here. I have to say, there is no reason, or no use case actually, where these rubbers here would be any advantage out in the field. And it doesn't matter what the surface is. The spikes are always the better choice, even on wet rocks. The only case when I use these rubbers here is when I'm using my tripod indoors to protect my floor. But whenever I'm outside, no rubbers. Also, when there is snow coverage, I don't use rubbers. I mean, the tripod sinks anyway. Also with rubbers, I really just use them inside. In my workshops, I often hear photographers saying it would be such a big effort to bring their tripod into setup, which is why they prefer to shoot without a tripod. But that's not a good idea, I have to say. A tripod is such a big advantage to fine-tune your composition, to wait for the right light. It simply helps to uncouple composition and light. And it also helps to slow down. Yeah, I mean, landscape photography is a speed discipline. We should enjoy it, right? However, what I do is then, when a workshop member says it would be such a big effort to bring the tripod in setup, I simply ask, show me how you bring your tripod into setup. And what I see then is, let me show you, I see something like that, and that, and that, and that, and that for all three legs, obviously, and after the shooting again in the other direction. And it takes an eternity, I have to say. Now, the much better way instead is, just do that. That's super simple, saves lots of time, and I also get a shot when I see that the light turns to get amazing. How simple is that? Another thing I often see is that landscape photographers are using the wrong tripod. Studio tripods, for instance, or video tripods. Either they are too heavy so that it gets difficult to climb up a mountain or so, or they are not sturdy enough for the circumstances we have as landscape photographers out in the field. There are lots of different manufacturers out there. I personally like the Lion Rock series of roller. I'm not sponsored, by the way, although I don't know which difference that would make, to be honest. I personally use Rollei because I feel that I get quite high quality for an affordable price. But as for all manufacturers, they also offer some cheap and weak tripods. That is what I would avoid, to be honest. The Lion Rock series works fine here, and I will link you my tripod down in the description so that you can check it out yourself. Now, before we will talk about one of the most often misunderstood thing about tripods, my friends, if you like this video, please give me a thumb up. You know, it helps me, it helps the algorithm, and it helps also other photographers out there to find this video better on YouTube. Thank you therefore. Okay, let's come to one of the most often misunderstood thing about tripods. Should we use the center column or not? Yeah, it seems to be a never-ending debate on principles. 50% of landscape photographers say no, don't use it, your image will get less sharp as your tripod starts shaking, and the other 50% say yes, go for it, why not? So let's end this never-ending debate, if that makes sense, here now. And I have a clear answer here for you. It depends. Yeah, I really mean that. It depends on the way of how you photograph actually. If you photograph just with longer focal lengths, you don't need necessarily a center column, because the fine-tuning is simply done by moving your camera around for meters. The height of the tripod doesn't have a big effect on the composition in this case. So by relinquishing the center column, you can save some weight and the tripod gets also more compact. But as soon as you want to photograph with shorter focal lengths, wide angle or even ultra wide angle, you need to fine-tune your composition. Yeah, unless you don't want to nail it. Not only left and right, but also up and down. And of course, there are many cases where you can also adjust the legs, yeah, for going up and down, unless you have squeezed your tripod between rocks or so. But it's definitely much more complicated and it takes much longer to nail the composition. With every leg you adjust, you change your composition massively, because the shorter the focal length, the more effect has a movement of just a few millimeters to your composition. Yeah, we're talking about millimeters here. So as soon as you want to photograph wide angle, I can highly recommend to use the center column when it's necessary, of course. Will your photos get less sharp by that? Not necessarily. I mean, of course, if you pull the center column out to the end and there's strong wind, it could get a problem with a longer shutter speed, of course. But whatever you need to fine-tune the height of your camera position, or if you simply need to go higher than your tripod legs would allow, yeah, you know, to get your composition to work, the center column is your friend. Yeah, I mean, in a case like that, it would be stupid not to use it. Another question I hear quite often is, in-body stabilization got so good meanwhile, so do we still need a tripod at all? Or could we photograph just handheld? But this is a question answered already in this video here. Friends, I hope you liked this video. If you have shared with your friends, don't forget to tune in next week. There will come a fantastic video as well. And thank you so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.